So welcome back to the Payment Shed podcast. Today we have Cindy Turner, CPO from Worldpay. Cindy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Justin.
Give us an introduction on yourself. Tell us a little bit
Great.
more.
Well, thank you, Justin. I really appreciate it. I enjoy these, and it's nice to drop something like this into a busy day at Money20. I have been with Worldpay for about a year and a half. I joined last April. My fun fact would be my 1 year anniversary was actually the day that the global acquisition was announced. So it was a wild first year. But I've been in the merchant side of payments for a really long time. So I got into it kind of accidentally. I was at KKR when we bought First Data. And that was where I found payments, found the value chain really interesting, the space really interesting. I spent a little bit of time at Visa, quite a long time at JP Morgan, running product there. And then right before this, I had the opportunity to run Braintree for a couple of years. So I'm deeply a payments geek at this point.
That's what we like to hear on the show. So look, Cindy, tell me a little bit more about your thoughts on agentic commerce. It's a buzzword in the industry right now, but people are really starting to bring this to life. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, agentic is a very wide umbrella, but broadly, I think about the entire trend is that the consumer themselves is moving their moment of discovery into an LLM. And then the ability for agent operators, whether that's the LLMs themselves or third-party startups that are building within those environments, to be able to create shopping that is a friction-free, beautiful consumer experience of how about I go buy that thing for you. So what's engaged in that? You need the consumer to have stored a card in some kind of vault, and then you need to move that transaction through to the merchant. So there's a lot of ways that can happen. That can happen with an agent shopping guest checkout. It can happen with, at its very simplest, just a link getting pushed to the consumer within the ChatGPT type of interface. Or it can happen with storing that card and a software-to-software based transaction. So we're not there yet. In terms of the software-to-software based, we have, a lot of instances of either the marketplace model where we're seeing, some kind of agent operator is creating a marketplace of goods, or this shopping guest checkout, headless commerce. But we're still early in the experimentation.
I love the term headless commerce. I think there's more and more businesses that are now approaching that idea of we don't need to be sat at the front of the consumer.
Yep.
But if needed to, then we can. And what's Worldpay's role within this ecosystem?
Yeah, it's funny. So I think headless commerce is really scary to merchants. Merchants, the reason that they're in business is because they believe they have brand loyalty and they believe that they're better at presenting a selection of inventory to the consumer than any of their competitors. So, this is a scary moment for a retailer that operates typically on fairly thin margins. And if that moment of discovery, so the inventory management moved into the LLM, and then they lose the ability to have a consumer on their website. They can't cross-sell, they can't build brand loyalty. They even lose some of the connectivity to be able to market, incremental transactions back to the consumer. Or they have really bad, long tail, non-happy paths. So if you need to make a return and, Perplexity bought your sweater for you, then Macy's doesn't even know that Perplexity sold that sweater. I think headless commerce is actually quite a scary moment for many merchants.
And that's kind of, we talk about the challenges there. What's the benefits, do you think, to the merchants? Of course, we have the seamless customer and consumer journey, but what else do you think can really benefit a merchant by using?
Yeah, I mean, if the consumer's eyeballs move away from Google as their discovery or away from going straight to the merchant themselves in their app or in a native surface, then their revenue's at stake. So if they want to continue to sell, they have to move into that environment. But it's a major transition for where we are in commerce right now.
And I think the consumer mindset has changed significantly when buying things in retail, right? They want to be able to order it today and it comes tomorrow. That Amazon Prime mindset, right? It's kind of what everyone is now looking for when they're buying things. Talk to me a little bit more about the Worldpay and OpenAI partnership. Firstly, congrats on that. It's huge news. Tell us a little bit more about that, what it means.
I think the funny thing in Agentic is there's been, 6 announcements in the last 2 months, right? So we have AC2, we have ACP, Visa's is VIC, Visa Innovation Construct, I think. So there are so many, every major player is trying to release their own protocol of what they believe they can land Agentic as. Worldpay's take is a little bit different. We're saying, let us sit, representing the merchant and be able to bring the merchant's perspective into each of those relationships. So whether it's Google, it's OpenAI, it's Visa, we're able to sit and be a partner to the merchants, or to the partner to the LLM and the platform that's trying to own the consumer, to help influence them. So make sure that they're thinking about things like returns. How's the return of this transaction going to work? How are we going to navigate the liability? So if the agent makes a purchase that isn't exactly what the consumer would have bought, and sometimes the SKU is the right thing, is what the consumer would have bought, but you can think about it in any industry. In a travel transaction, like, yes, I wanted you to buy the cheapest ticket from SFO to JFK, but I never would have taken a red eye. Why would you have bought me a red eye? Or, yes, I wanted you to buy that exact shoe, Nike shoe in black in my size, but why would you have ever bought that without a return policy? I never would have made a purchase if I couldn't make a return. So all of the nuances of what specifically gets purchased, it's really going to be disruptive as we start to see chargebacks on those transactions. So Worldpay's role in the ecosystem is to be a launch partner, to create innovation and stand-up use cases, to bring, we represent 8 of the 10 largest merchants globally. So we can bring those merchants into a sandbox-based environment and start to light up some use cases, but really be able to influence how the LLMs or how these other parties are thinking about building protocols in a way that they'll work for the merchant. So that's really what we announced with OpenAI.
I think it's really interesting you mentioned around the way that Worldpay provides them services at 8 of the 10 largest retailers. I think what's good is that you're bringing the retailers on board as part of the kind of the conversations and really understand how you're going. We don't know how it works, right? No one's gone through this process before, so working with the merchants I think is absolutely key, which is great.
My favorite fun fact, so at Worldpay's Rethink conference, which is our client event, we had it in Amsterdam, our European event a couple of weeks ago, and so we had 250 clients in the audience. Collectively, they represented $1 trillion of payment volume, so $1 trillion of the global economy sitting in a room with us. And so we did a couple little QR code questions. First question was, how disruptive do you think agentic commerce is going to be for your business? And it was like 80+% of people, 9 out of 10, this is like the most important, moment in, my career. The consumer's moving, it's going to be just so disruptive. The big players are going to be different 3 years from now. I'm terrified of what it's going to look like. Second question, have you tried an agentic transaction yet? 4 people out of 250 of payments nerds, right? These are like people who run payments at major retailers and care enough about payments to show up at our client event. Yeah. 4 of them had tried an agentic transaction. And then the third question was, is your company already launching like a strategic initiative on what agentic should look like? And only like 30%. So to me, that's like very representative of where we are. Like, people are terrified, they see the change. Everyone believes this is going to transform everything, but no one's tried it yet. And the biggest merchants aren't really even working on it. So I think that's really representative of just where we are today.
Fantastic, thank you. And tell me a little bit more your thoughts on Money20 so far. How is it going for Worldpay?
Yeah, I love and hate Money20. It's like so efficient. I can meet with like 30 to 40 people in 48 hours. It's exhausting. I think I already told you I wore shoes that are brand new, and I'm regretting that choice. And I'm only a couple hours in. But I think the energy is great. It's such as I said, so efficient to be able to be here with our clients, our vendors, our partners, and be able to really, get so much done in just a few days.
Fantastic. And lastly, the shelf of shame, Cindy. What one thing in payments or fintech really gets to you that grinds your gears?
Yeah. So I think it would probably be, you said, what does agentic mean to you? I think 2 years ago, if we had this conversation, it would be, what does orchestration mean to you? I think that people land on a word, and the entire conference or the entire industry is talking about the word, but everyone has their own definition of the word. And like orchestration, when you're talking to engineers, they're talking about internal orchestration. When you're talking in payments, it's like, right now everyone uses orchestration to mean a vault that is able to do a forward API. But everybody lands on a very specific word, but then lets themselves have a different definition of it than anyone else has. So it makes it really hard to just converse on some of these topics.
I think it's a really, really good point. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Cindy.
Sounds good. This
Enjoy the rest
fun.
of your show.
Great, thank you.